Welcome to From the Trenches, success shortcuts revealed by real-world innovators crushing it right now. I'm your host, Scott Hartley, and we're back with another episode packed with actionable strategies from today's most successful entrepreneurs. If you're tired of generic business advice and ready for real cutting-edge tactics that are working right now, you're in the right place. Now, have you ever noticed how some days feel effortless while others feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill? Well, that frustrating inconsistency isn't your fault. It's actually a sign that your schedule may be fighting against your brain's natural operating system. And our guest today has developed a revolutionary approach to time management that synchronizes with your unique cognitive patterns. And so we're going to learn from our guest about how to create and execute a schedule that feels like it's working with you, not against you. So I'd like to introduce you to Tracy Hoth. She's a 17-year veteran professional organizer and certified life coach on a mission to empower coaches and online business owners to reclaim their time, boost their confidence, and maximize their profitability through a streamlined and organized business. She hosts the globally ranked Organized Coach podcast, and she's the creator of Organized Coach Academy, where she helps coaches and online business owners become organized CEOs. Tracy, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Scott, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, talk about everything organizing.
Oh, I think this is something that all of us probably need help with in some way, shape, or form in our life or in our business, right?
Yes,
So,
and I hear that so much. So many people think I should be doing better. I didn't do enough. Each day and they look at their schedule and they're like, I need to find the magic answer.
exactly. And I'm kind of one of those. It seems like every time that I cross something off of my to-do list, seven things appear magically on it. It's like, where did those come from? So,
Yes.
but I'm really excited to have you here today and talk about, organization and then more specifically kind of that schedule because, with our minds, I mean, that's the control center of everything that we do, right? And a lot of times, we hear great advice, we read books, we hear, read things on the internet, whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm going to do that with my schedule, or but it just doesn't seem to be a natural fit. And so it kind of works against us. So I'm interested in hearing your insights, on that. But before we get in, I want to kind of like hear your backstory. How did you get into the organizational world and kind of figure out and to what you're doing now?
Back, oh gosh, 27 years ago, before I had kids, I would rip out photos of closets out of magazines. That's all I had back then, and put them in a file. And then my husband and I drew a little logo for Squared Away. That was going to be my website. And then when my youngest started preschool, because I stayed at home with my four kids, and I started thinking, okay, I want to be doing something. I want to help people. I want to be creative. And so I started organizing for people in their homes. I just told people I was a organizer. I started helping friends, posted pictures, and got started there. And then in 2018, I got certified as a life coach because of the whole mindset behind organization.
Mm.
And when I got certified, kind of shifted my business online and I started coaching people to get organized online. And I realized getting your online business organized is just as hard. Creating a schedule, sitting at your desk, and doing all of that is hard. I had to go back to my own principles and kind of work through those to get my business online organized. And
Hmm.
then I started helping other people do the same thing, getting their online, their digital space, their time, and all of that organized and working so they could make the bigger impact with their own businesses, with their own skills and strengths.
Sure. Yeah. So that's definitely an interesting journey. I think all of us, probably have, those drawers, those closets, those spaces in our home that it's like, don't go there. It's like it's a mess.
Keep the
I know
door
I've got
shut.
several of those drawers in my kitchen that need to be cleaned out and organized. But you mentioned, that online space, and I know for me, and I think that this is probably the case for a lot of people. You can tell me if I'm right, but with the digital world that it's easier to become more of a pack rat. right? And maybe more difficult to keep organized because you can download stuff, you can save bookmarks, all that type of thing. But then there's very little organization to those, and it just kind of becomes clutter, and then it's like, oh, I can't find that, or why do I have this taking up space on my computer?
Yes, your computer starts not working. You get really frustrated because you can't find what you're looking for. You have to go remake it or whatever. So it is so important to have the same foundation set up for you digitally as it is physically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to dive in because I mean, obviously, we could talk about organizing, your digital files, and maybe bring you back on another podcast later on to talk about that. But today, I really want to dive into the scheduling because when I saw what you had filled out on the form to be on the podcast, it was like creating a schedule that works with your mind and your time. I thought that's kind of interesting because so many of us have jam-packed schedules that we've got, business obligations, we've got family obligations, we've got personal things that we need to get done. Like, how do we manage all of that? And how do we make it work for us so that we can really feel like we're accomplishing something and really, truly accomplishing things?
Yeah. I was just working with someone yesterday talking about how they think about their schedule. So a lot of it starts with the mindset. It's just how they think about it. And we were discovering that if she performed and executed and had the perfect schedule, she would feel, I think her word was efficient
Hmm.
or satisfied. I think it was satisfied. She would feel satisfied. We always want something because of how it's going to make us feel. And so, for all of you listening, just think if you want your schedule to work, what is it that you're going to feel after it works? And then you can kind of dive into mindset stuff. And people are like, no, 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 no. Just tell me what to do. Tell me exactly how to make my schedule. So we can go there. But I want people to understand it is because you want a certain feeling and you want to feel a certain way that you want that magical schedule that works, that you execute, that you're good at, because of that.
Yeah. And really, if you think back, all things like marketing and business, it's that emotion, it's that feeling. That's what
Yes.
drives us to do most everything that we do. And then, of course, we justify it, with logic. So I love the fact that you're focusing on, how do I want to feel at the end of the day? How do I
Yeah.
want to feel as I'm doing the different activities that I have on my schedule for today? Because that's going to be what, either motivates us or it's going to be the thing that holds us back, right?
Yeah. And if we know that at the end of the day, if we had the perfect schedule and executed it, what would we feel? And if we can practice feeling that throughout the day, we're going to love working on our schedule and improving our schedule and improving our execution. So, yeah, really important. Start there. Think about that.
I love that. Now, one of the things that, I think a lot of times we get hung up on is like, oh, the perfect schedule. And I
Yeah.
think our minds naturally goes like, there's no way that I can have a perfect schedule. There's always going to be something that comes up. There's going to be, this fire that I've got to put out or this unexpected thing that I need to take care of, in the middle of this day that I have perfectly planned. How do you suggest that people handle those types of interruptions when they maybe have their perfect schedule planned out?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a reality. And I think thinking through what does a perfect schedule mean? What does it mean for me to execute it? Because there's going to be interruptions and our to-do list never ends. And so thinking through what do I want to accomplish even reducing the amount that you want to accomplish. I just heard someone say, I put what I needed to do in Chat GPT and it told me there's no way I can get that done in the amount of time you're giving me. So, I mean, if the computer knows it, why are we trying to get so much done that's probably a little bit unrealistic
Mm.
when we can lower that and feel less stressed, feel more happy about it, feel more accomplished and successful, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So start with thinking through like, okay, minimum, what do I want to get done?
Hmm. Yeah, and so what do you suggest, if we've got, this task list and we're looking at,
Mhm.
planning, tomorrow. So instead of like, let's say, let's plan out the week, let's start with our, planning our schedule for tomorrow. What's kind of the process that you would walk somebody through in planning their perfect next day?
Okay. So I always start with the 5 steps to organizing. And these 5 steps are what I used in organizing people's homes. It's what I use digitally. It's what I use for your mindset. And it's what I use for your schedule. And so what you do is the acronym is SPASM, which has been kind of goofy, but I've stuck with it all these years.
Hey, it
So the
works, right?
first, yeah, and it's easily to remember when you have a muscle spasm, you're going to be like, "Oh, organize. I need to do that right now." But sort is the first thing. So I like to get everything out of my brain and sort it on paper. What is it that I need to do? And then I put it into categories as I'm sorting. Now, if that doesn't come natural, you can just write everything down and then maybe highlight the ones that have to do. I like to sort into categories like calls I need to make, computer work, or if it's a business, maybe it's a project, that things you need to do for that project. If it's personal, it could be errands, it
Mhm.
could be, calls I need to make. So you sort into categories and then you go back through each category and you look at those to purge. So sort and then purge.
Okay.
And in the purging step, there's the D's. So you can delegate something, you can decide you're going to do it for sure, you can delay it. Maybe you're not going to do it tomorrow or next week or even this month.
Mhm.
Or you can, so delegate, delay, do, and delete the 4 Ds. You might decide, I don't even want to look at that. I'm not going to do it. And then the things that you're going to do, you assign homes to. So sort, purge, and assign homes. You assign homes, and that would be an appointment on your calendar, a time that you are going to do it, and then the fourth step is to set limits. That is giving an amount of time per activity. This is the amount
Mm.
of time you're going to limit yourself to work on that activity. And the fifth step is to maintain. So with your calendar and your schedule, you're always coming back to maintain. So that might be every night before you start, every morning before your day starts, you're maintaining your calendar. And then for sure, a weekly. And I use the concepts in the 12-week year to plan my quarter, my 12 weeks at a time.
Hmm.
And that has helped me on the limiting part. Like just last week, I was planning what I was going to do, and there was probably 3 or 4 projects, and I want to get all those done, but there's just no way. And I would not be happy with myself if I put all those on there. So I pick 1 or 2 projects to work on for that quarter, and that has really helped me
Mm.
feel, I guess, more successful that I'm accomplishing what I set out to because I'm limiting how much I'm focused on.
Yeah. We always want to get a lot done. And, I like you mentioned earlier, is that we tend to overestimate what we can get done in a day, but we
Yes.
underestimate what we can get done in a year, right?
Yes.
And so, I love that spasm concept of, really thinking through everything. Um, where does prioritization kind of come in? So, like, if you've got that sorting and you're putting things into categories, where does prioritization kind of come in? Like, okay, this really takes precedence over this.
Yeah, that's in the purge stage. So
Okay.
once you have those purged, then you prioritize. What
Okay.
will you do? And it's important to try to do the one thing that's going to move the needle in your business, the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference, that should be first on your list. And that doesn't mean you do it first thing in the morning, but that
Mm-hmm.
means you schedule it, you assign a home to it first thing on your calendar so that you're actually moving the needle in your business and moving toward your vision or completing that project that will make you money, obviously, if you have a business, or set you up to be able to do that. So that's the first priority. The first thing you put on your calendar is that activity.
So it sounds like that you're really a huge advocate of what I would call block scheduling, is that you've got, the different things that you need to get done, you've got those on your to-do list, and then, you're assigning that, you're giving that a home on your calendar, basically making an appointment for yourself. Is that right?
And I always say, I am down to earth and just like you. This is challenging for me too. So I think of myself more as a hybrid. I'm not a full block scheduler, but yes, I want to have the most important activities on my calendar. And then all the little things I usually work off a list. I have
Okay.
the priorities, I guess, that would be on my kind of in my planner or in a list beside me
Hmm.
that are the priorities. So when I have blank space in the morning, when I look at my calendar, I kind of see, okay, I'm going to be able to have time to do these certain things in that space, but I won't necessarily block it off. I
Hmm.
think the block works best for your priority. And
Okay.
then you have the different calls or appointments. And then in the little spaces, I work off a list. And I
Okay.
think that it kind of frees people up from I'm all in on block or I'm all in against it or, I have to have every second planned. And there's people like that. And that's where you work with how your mind works.
Hmm.
And the big thing there is testing it. Having someone that works with you to test, okay, am I someone that works best with my mind to block off every minute and schedule every minute of the day? Or am I someone that does the hybrid? Or maybe I work great and it's working for me just to work off a list.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, because I think, for me, sometimes there are weeks that it's like, okay, I really want to have everything all planned out because I really want to get a lot accomplished. And then there's other weeks it's like, okay, I'm going to put the big things on the calendar, but then there's like
Yeah.
zones of free time that it's like, okay, I can do whatever that I need to get done, in this time block instead of it being assigned to a specific item.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting with that because sometimes I've noticed people think, well, I'm not a good scheduler. I don't have a system in place that helps me do that. But if it's working and if you're doing it, and there's some times where you feel good about blocking it off and sometimes where you don't, what if that was good? Like, what if that was your system? That
Hmm.
when you're in the mood, you do it this way. When you are want more freedom, you do it this way. And that's how your system is for you and it works.
Yeah. Now, one thing that you mentioned in the spasm is that you're giving a specific amount of time. So when you're blocking something and you put it on your calendar, you're saying, okay, I'm devoting 30 minutes to this, or I'm devoting 90 minutes to that. What's the importance of that, and what does that do for us by putting it in that specific time block?
Well, ideally, you're guessing, right? How long it's going to take. But I always go to the test analogy. Your professor in college gave you 2 hours to take a test, and you didn't think like, well, if it's going to take me longer, I'll just keep working on it. He like, no, you have 2 hours to take that test, and you go fast in the beginning to make sure you're going to get it all done. And then you go back if you need to, but you only have 2 hours. So it's a little bit sets you up in your mind. Like, I have an hour and a half to work on this and I am going to get it done.
Hmm.
I'm going to do it fast and then I can go back and perfect it if I want to or if there's time. So it sets you up in your mindset to really be focused because
Hmm.
you're not on your taking that test with your professor, like checking your phone and walking out and doing the laundry. That's not what I do, but um, so I'm focused on this activity.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of us work better when we have a pressure of a deadline. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's a good reason why a lot of us procrastinate on things. It's like, oh, I'll get to that later. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's due today or it's due tomorrow. And then we somehow manage to get it done, right? And so if
right.
we see the same thing on our calendars, like, oh, I've only got 30 minutes for this particular task. Like, I'm going to get it done in that time frame.
Yeah, that's our deadline that we've input in ourselves. Now, if it doesn't work and if you completely underestimated the amount of time and you're not done, instead of beating yourself up, you could just say, "Huh, that's so interesting. I thought it was going to take 30 minutes." And just kind of be encouraging to yourself and think, "Okay, next time I'll plan a lot longer for that activity."
Yeah.
Or
And
you or you're going to learn, huh, I was not focused. I was checking my phone and got distracted with my email. That's obviously why I took so long to get it done. or
Yeah.
didn't finish.
And so you bring up something really good there is, there's a lot of things that can distract us nowadays. We have our phones, text messages, emails, and, all these other Facebook, social media, whatever. What's some advice that you would give to people that as they're working through in planning their schedule and needing to get things accomplished, what do you recommend to handle those distractions?
Well, I like some aspects of the Pomodoro method, which is where the thing I really like is before that calendar block starts, you write on a post-it note what you're working on and put that post-it note down. You can use a timer if that's helpful. And if you have ADHD or you get really easily distracted, which I think is all of us nowadays,
Yeah.
you can set the timer for a shorter amount of time, like 15 minutes, just to make sure you're not distracted. And
Hmm.
then you know what you're working on because you're looking at that post-it note and you wrote down what you're working on. So it's right in front of you. You're having something help you stay focused, and that will keep you in tune with what your goals are for that time block.
Yeah, yeah, I know a lot of my friends and colleagues that they use the Pomodoro method to really focus on like I've got to get this done. I really need to give this my attention, and they leverage that a lot, and they find it
Yeah.
really helpful. Now, I just lost my the question I was going to ask. So, with the distractions and everything, one of the things that I've done is
Ooh.
turn off like the
Yeah.
notifications on my phone. So I used to have it to where like it would ding on, for emails that would come in. And of course, like 300 emails an hour, it's like constantly going off. I finally turned that off. And that way I don't even know that an email has come in. I don't use the D&D, the do not disturb setting on my phone, probably as much as I should. But one of the things that I found is that, the world doesn't end if we turn off all those notifications. There are, a lot of times that we can really dial in on what we need to get done when we take conscious effort to eliminate all of those distractions.
Yeah, and it's so good, Scott, that you brought that up because I have not had notifications on my computer or my phone for so long that I forget to say that. I forget. And when someone's thing dings when I'm on a call, I'm like, oh, what was that? Because I never have that on. And on my computer, there's a setting you can do up in the top right corner that is, and it is the do not disturb. I have that on all day from I think 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. or something. So it's literally on the whole day. I think it
Right.
required me to turn it off for an hour or something.
Uh-huh.
But and then same with my phone. I never have the sound on and I never have notifications ring.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that is very good to remember to do that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that that it's all about finding what works for us, right? And what works with our mind and allows us to have the most comfort in the way that we plan our schedule so that we can get things done in the time that we need to have to get them accomplished.
Yeah, and that to remember that that's the ultimate goal that we want to move toward our vision. We want
Mhm.
to keep accomplishing things toward our vision. But at the same time, we want to enjoy this journey that we're on. And so thinking, okay, this week I'm going to test something specific. I'm going to test my distraction ability. Next week, I'm going to test doing time blocks, maybe adding one time block in and just being really slow and relaxed about what you're testing and how you're moving toward creating a schedule that works for you
Mhm.
versus seeing all these options out there and all these magic answers. I like to remember like it lies within you what's going to work for you.
Mhm. And with business owners especially, like, a lot of business owners I know that they feel like they have to put in, 60, 70 hours a week. What does your process do that helps business owners to maybe cut back on the amount of time that they're working on or in their business?
Yeah, I think then it gives them what is the word I'm thinking of? Awareness of what they have on their task list.
Hmm.
And then it makes them put homes of those tasks on their calendar and then really see. And when you decide, I kind of think of this as a project. You're going to figure out a schedule that works for you.
Mhm.
Let's give yourself 12 weeks to do that. That might be one of your quarterly projects. And you're really going to become hyper aware. You're going to learn what you can learn about how your mind works, about how your day works, about how distracted you are, about how you like things to work, and ultimately the feeling that you're going to practice throughout the day and throughout this goal of creating a schedule that works for you.
Yeah, I love that you tied that back to the feeling. So let's say that you're going through your day, you're going through your week. It's getting closer to the end of the week, for example, and you look at that task list and you look at your schedule, and it's like, oh crap, I didn't get a lot of stuff done, and you start feeling bad about
Right.
like, oh, I didn't stick to what I really intended to do. What's some advice that you would have as we start to experience that? What's some advice you would have to kind of help us reset?
Oh, that makes me think we're doing The Gap in the Gain, the book. I love that book. And it's like, make sure you are putting down your gains. What did you accomplish? What did happen? So I think that's first. And you could have a habit of doing that every night. Like write down your wins, what you accomplished that day. Make sure on your calendar, your digital thing that you're using, that you highlight. Or I've just started using my iPad, so now I'm super into like noticing those things because
Uh-huh.
I can highlight them and it's so fun.
Yeah.
But highlight those that you accomplished and make sure you have a list of those things that you can go back to. Because when you start feeling like that, more than likely it's a lie. You
Mhm.
actually are accomplishing things. You're just looking at the gap of of what you still need to do. And remember, that gap is going to be there forever because our to-do list never ends. So you're always going to have a long list there. You could always feel bad about it, or you could be like, "Look, I did all these things in this amount of time. Like I'm pretty good
Yeah,
at
it
it."
just is a matter of reframing,
Yeah.
and focusing on what's important because our mind, in working with a couple different mindset coaches, our mind likes to lie to us,
Yes,
and so we
exactly.
have to teach it like, no, I'm not going to accept that lie. This is the truth. This is what I've actually been able to do.
Yeah, and then question that. Like, what if I thought I was doing enough, what would I feel? And go through to play out the whole entire self-coaching model that
Hmm.
is happening when you're thinking that you're not doing enough and realize even if you can support that evidence that you're not doing enough and you have evidence, you could prove it to me, Tracy, yet it doesn't matter. It might just be a very unuseful thought that is continuing you in that loop. And
Hmm.
so to be able to, with a coach, brainstorm and look at and kind of break that thought down and dissect it and then be able to put something new in there and begin to practice it. And it takes practice. It's not like it's easy to switch your mind or redirect your mind or, like you said, reframe
Yeah.
your thought process. But that work is going to make all the difference in your schedule.
Sure. Now, before we wrap up here, there's one thing that you mentioned earlier, and actually you've kind of mentioned both angles of it, is that paper, doing, some planning on paper, writing things out, sorting and categorizing that way. And then you also mentioned that just recently started using your iPad. What do you feel like works best? I know it's going to be, up to each individual, but in your experience, what do most people gravitate to? What seems to work better for going through this process? Is it paper or is it the digital version?
Well, for sure, the digital version. We're in a digital age. I think having a digital calendar is, I mean, essential.
Hmm.
Then, what several people enjoy is having a paper next to them where they are kind of sketching it out for the day. So each day they look at their calendar, they look at their to-do list, wherever that might be. Maybe that's on paper too, or maybe it's in a digital format. And then they kind of sketch out what they're going to do. Maybe they write their top three priorities down for the day. I actually just found a digital calendar planner called Artful Agenda
Hmm.
that I am in love with because it combines those two things. And it's on my iPad now, so I can write on it what my priorities are.
Hmm.
but it has the actual digital calendar synced with Google. So it has my digital calendar there and it has my priorities and my other tasks listed. And if I didn't finish something, it rolls it over to the next day. So I'm not having to rewrite something or
Oh,
go back
wow.
to a different list. It is pretty amazing.
What's that called again?
It's Artful Agenda.
Artful Agenda. I'll have to check that out. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Now
awesome.
it's kind of it looks just like a planner on
Okay.
your thing. So it can have kind of some little flowery covers, but there is a leather cover. There's some all sorts of options. Some people really get into stickers because they like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a big sticker person yet, but maybe I'll become one. I don't
It
know.
might
But
grow
I
on you,
love it.
right?
Yes, I love it just for that side by side view of my day and my three priorities and my tasks that I want to accomplish. So it's really helpful. But to get back to your question, I think that's the combo is having your digital calendar and then maybe if you like to see something, you want to use your hand to write that you would do that as well for the day.
hmm I'm kind of a mix. I like
Mhm.
having everything digital because no matter where I'm at, if it's on my phone,
Yes.
on my computer, I've got access to it. And I do keep my to-do list on, I use Notion right now for my to-do list because if there's recurring tasks, like I can mark it off and it's automatically going to roll over to the next time that it's going to be due. Um, but I also like when I'm planning my week, I actually take a sheet of paper and I, draw out, the different 7 days of the week. And then I've got, a list of everything that I want to get done. And I use pencil to start mapping things out. And then I go to actually put that on my calendar. And for me, it just kind of, utilizes the best of both worlds. And,
Yeah.
with writing, it kind of reinforces in my mind, these are my priorities. These are the things that I really want to make sure that I accomplish.
Yeah, and it's that scientific evidence that writing actually does. I mean, I heard a huge percentage that it makes that big of a difference. So why not do it that way and use it to your advantage?
Yeah. And again, it's going to be different for each person because there's going to be some people that absolutely want to do everything on a digital format, right?
Right,
And
right.
that works great, for them. So, well, Tracy, it has been great, kind of exploring this topic of, thinking about scheduling and how we can make that work for us and accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. I know you've got a workshop that you'd like to offer our listeners. Tell us a little bit about that and where they can go to sign up for that.
Yes, one of the biggest returns on investment of investing and organizing your business is to get your digital file structure set up so that when you download something, when you're trying to find something, that you can find it in seconds and you know where it goes. So I have a free class. It's the only 5 file folders you need to organize your digital assets. And it is at simplysquaredaway.com/5 files. And you can go watch that. I show you the 5 file folders you need and how you can train your brain to be organized, to become organized. A lot of times people aren't taught the skill of organization.
Mhm.
And so this helps with that and it gets you to set up your file structure on your computer so you can always find what you need in seconds.
That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to go check out that because I've got tons of files all over my computer. I've got like 2.5 terabytes of stuff in my Google Drive folder. So I'm
Yeah.
a classic hoarder when it comes to digital things.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to check that out and find out what those 5 digital file folders are. So, well, Tracy, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you being here today. Again, everybody, make sure that you attend Tracy's free workshop. It's on demand where you can find out those 5 digital file folders that you need to organize your computer and find things in seconds. We'll put the link in the show notes just in case you aren't in a place where you could go to that right now as you're listening to the podcast. And if you're looking to supercharge your email marketing, feel free to check out my book, Hit the Inbox, at hittheinboxbook.com. It's packed with 76 pages of strategies to get your emails landing in inboxes and driving sales. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. It helps us reach more entrepreneurs like you. And until next time, keep crushing it in the trenches.